The first time I saw her, I thought someone had made the cruelest joke of my life. My friends couldn't stop grinning as they waved me toward the corner table of the little downtown cafe. "There she is," Tyler whispered, barely holding back a laugh. "Your blind date." I looked over and saw a woman sitting alone. One hand wrapped around a mug of tea, while the other rested gently on her very pregnant belly. She wasn't scrolling through her phone or trying to impress anyone. She simply stared out the rain-covered window with tired eyes that looked as though life had asked too much of her. I froze. Something didn't feel right. When she noticed me, she smiled politely and stood. "You must be Ethan." I nodded. "And you're Claire." Her smile was warm but uncertain, as if she'd been disappointed too many times to expect anything good anymore. Behind me, I heard muffled laughter. I turned just enough to see Tyler and two other friends watching from outside through the cafe window, recording everything on their phones. The realization hit like a punch. They had arranged this date because they thought it would be funny. 34-year-old Ethan, the guy who hadn't dated in almost 3 years after his fiancée died, was finally agreeing to a blind date. And they'd matched him with a woman who was 8 months pregnant. They expected me to panic, to walk away, to become the punchline. For one brief moment, I considered leaving. Not because Claire was pregnant, because I hated being manipulated. Then I looked back at her. She had seen everything. The laughter, the phones, the embarrassment spreading across my face. Her shoulders slumped ever so slightly. "I'm sorry," she said quietly. "I didn't know they were doing this." "You didn't?" She shook her head. "My coworker said someone nice wanted to meet me. I didn't know." She glanced toward the window. That this was entertainment. She reached for her purse. "I'll go." Something inside me refused to let that happen. "No." She looked surprised. "I mean, don't leave because of them." For the first time that evening, her smile became real. "I'd like that." We talked for nearly 3 hours. Not once did we discuss why she was pregnant. Not once did I ask where the baby's father was. Instead, we talked about favorite books, road trips, terrible jobs we'd survived, her dream of opening a children's bookstore someday, my late mother, who believed kindness was the only investment that always paid dividends. Claire laughed easily, though sadness lingered beneath every smile. When the cafe closed, I walked her to her car. "Thank you," she said. "For what?" "For treating me like a person." I watched her drive away, wondering why that sentence hurt so much. The next morning, Tyler showed up at my apartment laughing. "Dude, you actually stayed. You think what you did was funny?" "It was just a prank." "No. It was harmless." I stared at him. "You used someone's life to entertain yourself." His smile disappeared. "I never thought about it like that." "That's the problem." I closed the door. For the first time in 15 years, I stopped speaking to someone I once considered my closest friend. Claire and I kept seeing each other. Coffee became dinner. Dinner became walks through the park. Walks became conversations that lasted until midnight. Eventually, she told me about the baby's father. His name was Ryan. When she became pregnant, he disappeared. Blocked her number. Quit his job. Moved across the country. She never heard from him again. I kept wondering what was wrong with me, she admitted one evening. "There was never anything wrong with you." She looked at me as though no one had ever said those words before. A month later, I was painting the nursery in her apartment. The walls were soft green. I accidentally got paint on my forehead. Claire laughed so hard she nearly cried. "You look ridiculous." I was aiming for artistic. "You missed." She reached up and wiped the paint away with her thumb. Neither of us moved afterward. Then she kissed me. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't perfect. It was simply honest. The baby arrived 2 weeks early. Claire called me at 2 in the morning. "I think it's time." I drove faster than I ever had. For 14 exhausting hours I stayed beside her hospital bed. Held her hand. Rubbed her back. Told terrible jokes between contractions. When her daughter finally cried for the first time, Claire burst into tears. "So tiny," she whispered. The nurse asked gently, "Will the father be joining us?" Claire hesitated. Before she could answer, I said softly, "I'm not her biological father." The nurse nodded kindly. "I understand." Claire squeezed my hand. "But he's here." She named the baby Emma. The smallest person I'd ever seen somehow filled every empty space inside my heart. 3 days later, I installed the crib. 2 weeks later, I learned how to change diapers. 1 month later, Emma wrapped her tiny fingers around mine. I was completely lost. And completely happy. Not everyone approved. My older brother cornered me during Thanksgiving. "Why are you raising another man's child?" "I'm helping someone I love." "You deserve your own family." I smiled. "I already have one." He didn't understand. Many people didn't. But Claire did. Emma did. That was enough. A year passed. Emma took her first steps toward me. Fell into my arms. Laughed so loudly the entire room laughed with her. Claire recorded everything while crying happy tears. Later that night she whispered, "You've never treated her differently." "How could I? She isn't biologically yours." I looked toward Emma sleeping peacefully in her crib. Love doesn't check DNA before showing up. Claire cried harder than I'd ever seen. One rainy Saturday, there was a knock at the door. Ryan stood outside. Older. Nervous. Ashamed. "I heard I have a daughter." Claire's face went white. "You don't get to disappear for almost 2 years and suddenly show up." "I've changed." "You abandoned us." He looked at me. "And you are." "The men who stayed." Silence filled the doorway. Ryan asked if he could meet Emma. Claire looked at me. I nodded. "It has to be your decision." After a long pause, she agreed. Ryan sat across from Emma while she colored pictures at the kitchen table. She looked up. "Hi." His eyes filled with tears. She smiled politely before returning to her crayons. She didn't know him. He was a stranger. The hardest part wasn't watching him cry. It was realizing that biology alone couldn't replace 2 years of bedtime stories, scraped knees, birthday candles, and lullabies. Before leaving, Ryan approached me. "I don't know how to thank you." "You don't thank me." "I left." "Yes." "You stayed." "Yes." He nodded slowly. "I'll spend the rest of my life trying to deserve another chance." Claire eventually allowed him supervised visits. Not because he deserved forgiveness. Because Emma deserved the opportunity to know the truth about where she came from. Grace isn't forgetting what happened. Sometimes it's choosing not to let bitterness shape the future. A few months later, I proposed to Claire in the same cafe where we'd first met. The same corner table. The same rain tapping against the windows. Only this time there were no hidden cameras. No cruel laughter. Emma stood beside me holding a tiny sign that read, "Will you marry my daddy?" Claire covered her mouth. Then she laughed through happy tears. "Yes." She said it before I even finished asking. Our wedding wasn't expensive. Friends decorated the community hall with handmade flowers. Neighbors cooked food. Emma danced down the aisle scattering petals in every direction. Except where she was supposed to. Everyone laughed. Real laughter. Kind laughter. The kind that heals instead of hurts. During the reception, someone tapped a glass and asked how we'd met. The room became quiet. I smiled. "You probably won't believe this." Claire squeezed my hand. "My friends set us up as a joke." People looked confused. They thought they were humiliating both of us. I looked around the room at our family. Our friends, and the little girl now asleep across 3 chairs with cake frosting still on her cheeks. But life has a strange way of exposing the difference between people who laugh at others and people who stand beside them. I paused. The joke ended the moment kindness showed up. Across the room, Tyler stood silently. We hadn't spoken much since that day. After the ceremony, he approached me with tears in his eyes. I've spent years wishing I could undo what I did. You can't. I know. But seeing this family. His voice cracked. Maybe the worst thing I ever did accidentally became the best thing that ever happened. I thought about that for a long moment. Then I hugged him. Because carrying forgiveness is lighter than carrying anger forever. That night, after everyone had gone home, Claire and I tucked Emma into bed together. She looked up sleepily. I love you, Daddy. 3 simple words. She had no idea how much they meant. No blood test could make them more real. No stranger could take them away. As I turned off the bedroom light, I remembered the laughter outside that cafe years earlier. Those people believed they had arranged the most embarrassing date of my life. Instead, they unknowingly introduced me to the woman who taught me that compassion is stronger than judgment. And to a little girl who proved that family isn't defined by the day you're born into it. It's built every ordinary day afterward, through patience, sacrifice, bedtime stories, second chances, and the quiet decision to stay when walking away would be easier. And by the end, no one was laughing anymore. They were standing, applauding, and wiping tears from their eyes. Because the greatest revenge against cruelty isn't proving people wrong. It's building a life so full of love that the joke is forgotten. But the kindness is remembered forever.